Good afternoon, evil, and I will tell you one story of a good viewing. Night had already swallowed the old Whittaker Mansion when Marisol first laid eyes on the mannequin. Its lacquered skin gleamed in the corroded chandelier's sickly light, its painted lips frozen in a faint, knowing smile. For decades, the mansion had stood abandoned, the townsfolk whispering of vanished children and echoing footsteps in empty halls. Marisol, a skeptical urban explorer drawn by the promise of ruined grandeur, felt only the icy thrill of discovery, until she met those eyes. At first, they seemed ordinary enough. Glassy, pale blue, and studiously lifelike. But when Marisol stood before the mannequin, draped in a moth-eaten velvet gown and positioned as if at some invisible soiree, she felt a tug, a magnetic pull that rooted her in place. Her flashlight flickered, its beam dancing across the dusty floorboards, and then she saw movement, a flicker behind those dead eyes. She blinked. The room was still. The mannequin's smile hardened into something sly, contemptuous. The moment she understood that the thing before her was no mere prop, the air shifted, tasted of rust and regret. Marisol reached out, finger trembling, to touch the porcelain cheek, and recoiled as the mannequin's head jerked toward her, joints whining. A dry, hollow click echoed through the hall. Marisol raced for the door, adrenaline making her breath ragged. Behind her, soft, deliberate footsteps followed, impossible, yet undeniably present. She slammed the door shut, bracing her shoulder against its fractured panels, and prayed for silence. But in the darkness she felt it. Two glass beads drilling into her soul. Eyes who killed. Two. The insurance salesman. Jeremy Cross arrived the next morning, carrying nothing but a battered briefcase and an alibi. He worked for the estate's insurance company, tasked with quantifying risks and summoning drying signatures. He found the mansion peaceful in daylight. Sunbeams sifted through broken windows, illuminating frescoes of long-forgotten fates. In the foyer, he discovered Marisol's flashlight, still warm, and a smear of something dark across the marble threshold. His unease grew as he ascended the grand staircase. On the second-floor landing, the mannequin waited, draped now in a blood-red sash. Its eyes glowed too brightly, as if lit from within. Jeremy thought he heard someone whisper his name, low and urgent. He turned, and a flash of porcelain, the mannequin stepping forward. Instinct propelled him back down the stairs. But the steps stretched into an impossible distance, as though the house itself sought to trap him. When he finally reached the bottom, the chandelier above exploded in a cascade of sparks. He ducked, ears ringing, and in that moment of chaos caught the mannequin's gaze across the debris. Later, Jeremy's body lay crumpled at the foot of the stairs. His briefcase lay open, documents stained and shredded. The cause of death, a broken neck. His eyes were staring, fixed, as though they had reflected something too terrible to leave the body. Helen Page donned her uniform at dawn, straightening the pleats of her skirt before entering the mansion. She had heard rumors of death, but her employer dismissed them as superstition. Cleanliness and order, he had said. That's all this place needs. Armed with duster and mop, Helen began her rounds. In the ballroom, she found the floor littered with scrolls of brittle paper. Old guest lists, written in looping ink. The pages fluttered as if alive, and when she bent to gather them, a cold gust slammed the doors shut. She turned, heart hammering, to find the mannequin poised at the far end of the room, skirt swirling as if caught in an unseen wind. Helen's light revealed ragged cuts across the mannequin's face where the paint had peeled, exposing bone-white underlayer. She backed away, dread curling in her chest. Then, from behind her, a whisper, "Get out!" She whirled, but there was no one there. When she dared another glance, the mannequin stood inches away, its gaze locked onto hers. She tried to scream. The scream faltered. Her vision tunneled, and as she crumpled to the floor, the last thing she felt was the brush of cold porcelain fingertips against her temple. 4. The connoisseur. By midnight, the local collector Alan Moreau arrived, lured by legends of a priceless antique. He pried open a boarded window and dropped inside, lantern in hand. He admired the mannequin's artistry, its delicate bone structure, the expert brushwork of its eyelashes. He circled it, murmuring notes in his notebook. But art, he soon realized, should not stare back. He stared into those eyes, and the lantern flickered. Shadows stretched like fingers, clawing at the walls. The mannequin's lips curved into an imperceptible smirk. Alan raised his lantern to illuminate the figure's bust, but the lantern's glass cracked, splintering his reflection. He dropped the lantern. Flames licked the carpet. He stumbled back, coughing, as the mansion's doors slammed shut in unison. Smoke roiled and crackled. Through the haze, he saw the mannequin advance, its gown brushing embers to life. Alan choked, tried to flee, only to find every exit barred by impenetrable darkness. A final lantern flare revealed Alan frozen, transfixed. Then, like a candle guttering in the wind, the flame died, leaving only the glow of two pale blue eyes before all went black. The unseen witness. A single set of muddy footprints led into the mansion that night, footprints that stopped abruptly in the foyer. No one saw the stranger with the black umbrella slip inside. And yet something had watched, something silent, unseen, yet present. Within the gloom, the mannequin turned its head as though acknowledging the newcomer. 2 days later, rumors whispered of a new arrival at Whittaker, a woman's scream echoing down the empty hall. Her visitor had come to photograph the house. No one knows if she survived. But in the mansion's shadowed windows, just past dusk, a shape stands sentinel, a tall figure in black, umbrella closed against the absurdity of rain within those walls. And somewhere behind them, a pair of glass eyes gleams in the dark, hungry, patient, waiting. Dr. Elise Hawthorne arrived at the gates of Whittaker Mansion 3 nights after the last rumors surfaced. As a professor of obscure relics, she scorned superstition, clutching instead a dossier of yellowed newspaper clippings. The wrought iron gates groaned open of their own accord. Inside, the air carried a faint metallic tang. She stepped onto the gravel path, lantern aloft, and felt the temperature plunge. Through the glass doors, she spied the mannequin standing sentinel in the foyer, its eyes fixed on hers as if expecting her arrival. 7. The archive room. Elise pressed onward, drawn by the promise of hidden journals. The archive lay behind double oak doors, secured by tarnished locks. She forced them open and found shelves bowed with ledgers and diaries. Her lantern beam danced across broken spines and empty picture frames. In the center of the room stood the mannequin once more, now draped in ribbons of serrated lace. On a dusty table behind it lay a single page, a hand-drawn diagram of its glass eyes, annotated with names and dates, each victim immortalized in ink. 8. The whispering pages. She picked up the diagram and recognized her own name scrawled beside a date 2 weeks hence. A thunderclap rattled the roof. The candles flickered and whispers curled around her ears, soft, urgent, beckoning. She flipped through a diary and saw entries describing the first victim. The eyes reflect your soul and feed on your fear. Each subsequent entry grew more frantic until the ink smeared into illegible blotches. Elise's blood pounded as footsteps shuffled behind her. When she turned, the mannequin had moved to her side. 9. The sudden quake. The house trembled. Ceiling plaster cracked and rained down. Elise stumbled backward, crashing into shelves. Books tumbled around her like frightened birds. Through the chaos, she glimpsed the mannequin ascend the table with impossible grace, joints defying human mechanics. Its eyes glowed brighter, and suddenly the archives were lit with ghostly figures, translucent silhouettes of the dead spinning in silent dance. Screams of agony reverberated through the walls as if the mansion itself howled in torment at its own secrets. X. The descent. Elise fled the archive, but the corridor stretched endlessly before her. Portraits lining the walls contorted their tortured subjects, mouths open in silent screams. The floorboards writhed underfoot, paling her lantern's glow. She rounded a corner and found the grand staircase transformed, each step stained with fresh blood, imprinted with footprints leading downward into a yawning maw. Compelled by a force she could not name, she descended into the darkness, the mannequin's eyes cutting through the black like twin lighthouses of doom. 11. The cellar of echoes. In the cellar, Elise's lantern revealed walls lined with odd relics, tarnished child's toys, shards of porcelain, and dozens of identical glass eyes glinting from shelves. Each eye reflected a fragment of her face, her wide, horrified expression multiplied until the lantern trembled in her hand. A distant drip echoed, then another. Water seeped from cracks in the ceiling, pooling at her feet and carrying with it a whisper, "Look." Against one wall, the mannequin stood in repose, holding a cracked mirror. 12. The mirror's warning. Elise raised the lantern to the mirror. Its surface rippled like disturbed water. In its depths she saw herself, her hair matted, her eyes hollow. Behind her, a hand of pale porcelain reached toward her throat. She spun, but saw only emptiness. The mirror flashed a final reflection, the mannequin's eyes, inches from her own. She dropped the lantern and the glass shattered with a scream that echoed through the cavernous cellar. 13. The fractured lantern. Darkness swallowed her. Elise fumbled for the lantern's remains, finding only a single, half-burned candle. She lit it with trembling fingers and its weak glow revealed the mannequin inches away, head tilted, lips parted in a mocking grin. She whispered, "Why?" The mannequin remained silent, but its eyes pulsed, and from their depths came another whisper, "You read too much." The candle guttered as if blown by an unseen breath. 14. The revelation. The cellar walls began to bleed, dark, viscous fluid seeping from the cracks. The dripping intensified until the candle flickered out, leaving Elise in pitch-black terror. In the pressurized silence she felt the mannequin lean close, the coldness of its porcelain brush against her cheek. Then, through the darkness, a soft mechanical click, the latch of a trapdoor disengaging. The floor beneath her shifted, tilting her into a narrow chute. 15. The plunge. She fell, twisting in darkness, the single candle extinguished. The chute spat her out onto a floor slick with ancient blood. She lay stunned as the scream of metal grinding ceased above her. Vulnerability blossomed in her chest. All around, the basement stretched into an abandoned laundry room, rows of rusting machines gaping like maws. In the center, the mannequin waited, its glass eyes reflecting the grim fluorescent haze. 16. The final gambit. Elise dragged herself upright, spotting a folding chair nearby. She grabbed it, raising it overhead, and sprinted toward the mannequin. She swung, but the chair shattered against porcelain. The mannequin barely flinched. It stepped forward, slow and deliberate, each movement sending shivers through the silent laundry. Panic surged, she turned and fled for an open doorway at the room's far end. 17. The last door. Beyond the doorway lay the foyer once more, moonlight spilling through cracked windows. She raced toward the front doors, the echo of her boots loud in the silence. The mannequin pursued, gliding forward, eyes blazing. In a final desperate move, Elise yanked at the front door and it refused to budge. She slammed her shoulder, the wood splintering, but only a sliver of moonlight broke through. 18. The curse continues. Elise tumbled out through the gap, cutting her arm on splintered wood. She plunged into the gravel outside, scrambling away as the door snapped shut behind her. She dared a glance back, the mansion's windows were dark, yet through the threshold a pair of pale blue eyes watched, unblinking. A silent promise hung in the air, those who meet the mannequin's gaze never truly escape. Thank you very much, see you all in the next video.